Hello. Thank you for stopping by the Random Green channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Gridiron Football. I wanted to stream it. Might as well stream it. And I decided to talk a little bit about, first I'll start with high school programs. Now it just seems like some of these high school programs just never can get good. There's a lot of programs in the Midwest where it seems like the football programs have the right kind of area, and right, you think they would be great at football, but it just doesn't always translate to being good, having good success in the gridiron. Now, these programs, they just never. You feel sorry for these kids that they grow up and they want to play somewhere, and again, scholarship or college scouts will always go and they'll find, if they're living in another galaxy, they're good at getting athletes to go after athletes and recruit them to play at the NCAA level. It just doesn't seem like these athletes just don't. They a lot of times they're not too afraid, but they just don't want to play because you're not going to get the right kind of athletes at the athletes that they don't want to go to that program. They want to go to a different program. So, and it's unfortunate at the college pre-collegiate level that they don't want to play, and it's just unfortunate how that works. But again, these athletes will. It's too bad. It really is. But also I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about collegiate football, NCAA. Now, there was a lot of games. A lot of games got overshadowed by the Colorado-Oregon game and a lot in the Ohio State-Notre Dame game. Everybody was paying attention to the Oregon-Colorado matchup for reasons I don't need to go into with Coach Prime, a guy who I really want to see succeed. I really want to see him succeed at the NCAA level. He's probably at the age where he probably not going to ever really go to the NFL. He could for a few seasons, but he's not going to have an extended career like some coaches like Andy Reid and Mike Tomlin and Bill Belichick. It's going to be hard for him. He's almost like his mid-50s, and it's if you're not at the, maybe he could be an assistant somewhere down the road. But I really wanted to see them do good. They got a little bit of humble pie. They kind of expected it. One of their better players was out. And will that made a difference? I don't think so. Oregon probably still would have won the game. Even when you're like best player, it just seems like they're human and they'll make a mistake. And, when you have all your athletes, that's when you really kind of are relaxed. And then you don't play that well. It's just only human nature you're at full strength, and here you're going. And there's injuries just part of the game. Injuries are part of the gridiron football game. There's more leg injuries in football. You see, you can't avoid it. It's a tough physical game. Just like Nick Chubb for the Cleveland Browns last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Boy, he really had a bad injury. Ooh, bad leg injury. I don't know if it was a compound fracture, but it was pretty bad. And sometimes it's friendly fire. So I also wanted to, before I have a plethora to talk about with college, university, gridiron football. A lot of people didn't pay attention. Well, maybe they did in the Southeast area. It was a Clemson and Florida State game. That was a really good game. Florida State beat them, but Clemson hurt themselves again. Clemson's a really good football team. They just can't put it together. They're absolutely. It's sad the way they are when it comes to, uh, Clemson's always been like a top 10 team, not a top 5 team. I'd say my top 5 teams are in college that I like are Michigan State, Oklahoma State, Colorado State, Washington, and Ohio University. Not Ohio State, Ohio University. So a lot of these programs they're good. Wait, I went off in a tangent there. Okay, top 5 programs. That's who I like. Out of the Washington Huskies are the best. Obviously out of the record wise, but getting back to the Clemson Florida State game, Clemson was up 24-17. They were driving. They had a fumble, and Florida State picked up the fumble and took it all the way and scored a TD, a defensive touchdown. Same thing happened to them with Duke the first game of the year. They were driving. I think it was 14-7 Clemson this time. So Clemson was up by a touchdown. They were going to go up there. They were going to go there and potentially tie the game, and they fumbled. Long fumble recovery. It was like a 99-yard defensive touchdown for Duke. It ended up being 28-7. I think that after that, when it was 14-7, then it went up 21-7. It really hurt them. Now, of course, it might have been 7-7, but it was really just hurt Clemson, and I really felt for him. I knew it's really tough to fathom such a game like that. And Clemson is now 2-2, and boy, they had the potential to. Now their playoffs season is pretty much done after losing to Duke by 21 and losing to Florida State at home, even though it was an overtime. Their season is pretty much. Again, it's not about winning the net. It's not about getting to the playoffs. It's about getting to a nice bowl game. If you don't know what a bowl game is, it's a collegiate or university. It's like a postseason event where they play one game. It's not the playoff. The playoff is where the Final Four, and I think next year is going to be like 8, maybe. Yeah. So the following year there'll be 8, which will be great to see. But getting back again to, I know I go in different directions, but getting back to that Clemson game, they really had that game. They were up 24. They were playing really good. They were actually out physically Florida State. Florida State just didn't, or Clemson just didn't have it. I mean, they just didn't finish. And again, when you play a 1AA team and FAU, Florida Atlantic, they beat the week before Florida State. You're just not going to be able to get to the playoffs. Their season is pretty much. I mean, when it comes to the playoff chances, it's done. You just got to play for your draft stock now as a player in Clemson. It's kind of unfortunate. Michigan State, my favorite team, they lost to Maryland, and and it's not surprising because unfortunately Mel Tucker's out of there for reasons. I don't know. I just don't know. It just seems a little fishy. On a phone conversation, I'm pretty sure it'd have been a better game if Mel Tucker was in there. Maryland's a good program. They're a dark horse in the Big Ten. Boy, I'd love to see them beat Ohio State. Speaking of Ohio State, Ryan Day, I made a video about it. It would be in my uploads, not the live streams, but I made a video about my opinions on what Ryan Day, why he shouldn't have done it to the Holds. I'm sure Ryan Day, at the end of the day, I look at it and I say, okay, Ryan Day's not the worst person in the world. But it's the heat of the moment. I guess I can see where he's coming from. And also, heat of the moment for for what I was talking about. Kind of got me under my skin because I kind of grew up a Lou Holtz fan. So, and I'm a little biased because I don't like Ohio State. I got nothing against the state of Ohio. I just don't like Ohio State University when it comes to their football program. I just, it's not like I have a lot of respect for the program. It's not like if they win, I'm going to get really mad. I mean, you can't really control what they do. I was really mad when they beat Notre Dame, though, because my friend's a big Notre Dame fan, and I can't imagine. I didn't want to text him. I don't know what he's going through. He's probably really upset. I'm sure he's over it now, but he's probably really upset about that. Especially the way they came in. He's gonna say that because Notre Dame wore all green. They were their green jerseys and green pants, the gold helmets. I thought they looked pretty sharp. I like that, all green and gold. Of course, I'm a little biased because my favorite color is green. But it's one of those things where that they blew that game. Notre Dame didn't have a really good goal line defense. It's really frustrating because I wanted to see Notre Dame win for my friend, and it would kind of cool to see them win green jerseys because they never really do good. My friend thinks they never do good, but they have won before the green jerseys. But this time they wore green pants and green jerseys. Now they'll probably never wear that because they lost to Ohio State. And it was a game that just a heartbreaking loss for a team like that. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I'm sure Notre Dame was just in agony, especially the fans. I just can't imagine the fans being in agony. But it is what it is. That's just part of sporting events. And somebody has to lose. But unfortunately, Notre Dame will probably never wear those sweet green, Kelly green pants and Kelly green jerseys. I thought a little more darker green to it, just a darker hue, just this much, and it'd been perfect. Like, probably like around here where, or that, it was actually like that, a green. I don't know. It's hard to tell from the TV angle, or the TV. I watched it on YouTube TV. That's side point, I guess, if you wanted to know about that. I also wanted to talk about, Washington, the Huskies, another storyline, beat California 59-32. It was 52-12. And, I don't like how these teams, they make it look good, like they scored a bunch of points. And I think California scored a bunch of late points, but they still won 59-32. That's a blowout. And Washington Huskies are playing really good. They could potentially be a dark horse in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is Utah's good. I still think they're undefeated. Utah beat UCLA 14-7, a nice low-scoring game. I have to tell you guys something that I do like, a lower-scoring football game. And what else? Arizona State and USC. USC beat Arizona State 42-28. It was a late Saturday night game. I think I fell asleep in the third quarter because something like that. Maybe I can't. Anyway, sometimes the weekend's a blur and you can't really remember. Sometimes you can. It's not a blur, but sometimes you can remember every little bit of it. All I know is this past weekend, that's all I did was sleep. I mean, like, Friday morning, I got up like at 7 in the morning. And that's not really sleeping in for me. It shouldn't be. But, and then Saturday, got up at 9. And then Sunday, yesterday, 11 in the morning. 11. I don't like that. I like to get up and that's why it's not going to be that long of a stream. See, I wanted to do a stream because I didn't want to upload a video, and if I had more to say about this video, then it would be, again, I wanted to, if like I say, the gigabytes. Hey, at least I speak better than Joe Biden. The gigabytes they're up there. I mean, when I upload a 10-minute video, that's at least a gigabyte, you know. And it depends how much the resolution again. If I put it in 4K or 1080, you know. So this format right here, it looks kind of odd to you, to a person. It probably does. And you're like, what the heck is? It looks like there's a picture inside a picture inside a picture inside a picture, and I just wanted to do it this way. So Colorado lost to Oregon 42-6. Didn't play with their best player, but the first game of the year they beat TCU. That was TCU's only loss so far. I get it. You got to figure. I think TCU is going to get beat later on in the year. They're going to get pounded. To Texas, I would say, and then maybe a couple other teams. But TCU or Colorado beat TCU, then they beat Nebraska 36-14. Now Nebraska, that was one of the worst offensive performances I've ever seen on a Nebraska team anyway. They just absolutely did nothing. And when they did move the ball, they eventually turned it over. The quarterback play was horrid. I had nothing against the quarterback. The quarterback is an amazing athlete, but I don't think he's that right kind of system. I think he came from Georgia Tech as a graduate transfer. And now it's tough. It's a different offense, and I'm just an armchair quarterback, and I just going to offer my opinion about this, and think I think he's more of a running quarterback. He's a great quarterback. He has a good arm, and I can't remember what his name was, but anyway, they played really good against the Gophers. But this is Colorado. That's Nebraska, but they beat Colorado 36 or beat Nebraska. Colorado beat Nebraska 36-14, and then they beat the Rams, Colorado State Rams, in double overtime, 43-35. And when Travis Hunter went out, I think it was back and forth. I mean, it wasn't like Colorado was rolling over them and Colorado State all of a sudden came back, because I think Colorado State, they jumped on him right away. So to sit there and say Travis Hunter is this amazing athlete, which is true. But do you think, a lot of people think the Oregon game would have been an impact. Like, no. They were running the ball right at the gut at him. And Travis Hunter, last time I checked, he wasn't a pass protector. The quarterback was sacked 7 times. So, and maybe because a person will say, well, he wasn't open. He would have been open. He wouldn't have been sacked 7 times. But the pressure got to him. It was fast. It like I say, just earlier in the video, remember me saying that it probably would have been worse if Travis Hunter would have played, because when you're at full strength or semi full strength, you're going to be playing you're going to play a little more loose, or you're going to play lackadaisical. It's unfortunate. It's just human nature to go in there and when you're winning, it's hard to maintain that. It's hard to maintain that motivation to just go in there and pound them. But then when you face somebody that's really good, it's hard to come back. It's hard to play against a team. I played high school football before, and obviously it's nothing compared to college football. I played against college teams, high school teams. It's tough where you're pounding some other team, but then you come back and you face somebody that's just, you're not used to it. And meanwhile, they had some really tough games, and they fought hard to win. So they're used to that physicality of the football game versus a team that's dominating. They're not used to the physicality. And then the other team that's physical and is motivated to play because things they can still improve, they will do an upset on you. But when it comes to Oregon and Colorado, it wasn't really an upset. you could have 3 Travis Hunters out there on the wide receiver. It still would have been okay, 42-20 maybe. In fact, Oregon took their starters out, I think, in the mid third quarter. So the thing is, it would have been a blowout either way. But I wish nothing but the best to Deion Sanders. I hope Deion Sanders has an excellent career. I hope he makes a bowl game this year, which they very well should. I don't think they're going to win the following week against USC, but it might be a little better game. But I don't see them stopping a good, high-powered USC team. They're explosive on offense, and they'll score points on Colorado, unless something happens where they don't. You just never know. That's why they play the game. And then Wisconsin and Purdue. Now here's a team, Purdue, that hasn't beaten Wisconsin in like 17 straight seasons, 17 straight times. They haven't beat Wisconsin since like 2005, but they didn't play each other every other year. So maybe not 2005 or 2004. Wisconsin won 38-17. The local teams, the Dakota schools, North Dakota State, South Dakota State had a bye. The Minnesota Gophers lost to Northwestern in a game they should have won. And in Michigan beat Rutgers 31-7. And Michigan has not given up more than 7 points in all. Every game is the most points they've given up is 7, and that's going to change, of course, once they play like Penn State and Maryland, and especially Penn State, and Ohio State. It's just not going to be. It's going to be tough. It's hard to go and it's hard to go in there and just dominate. And every game you're not going to win 45-0. Speaking of the high scores, I'll get to the NFL a little later. At Oklahoma State, my team lost 34-27. Georgia beat South Carolina. Georgia beat UAB 49-21. The week before, they beat South Carolina 24-14. Alabama beat Ole Miss. Mississippi 24-10. Texas beat Baylor 38-6. And I get all that up here. Not that I'm saying I'm smart. I just remember the scores. It's not like I remember everything, every little thing about the game. It's hard to keep track. But it's always tough. Well, I might as well turn to the NFL. Well, I can just read the score. NFL scores week. NFL scores week 3. Okay. Well, right now Tampa Bay is playing Philadelphia. That's a Monday night game. They announced 2 Monday night games. They haven't done that for, they usually do that for the first game of the season, and that's it. But yesterday, on Thursday night, San Francisco beat New York Giants 30-12. I think San Francisco's I'll hold that thought until I read these scores. You probably already know this, but for the sake of making a video, I might as well just say it. Detroit beat Atlanta 20-6. LA Chargers beat the Minnesota Vikings 28-24. Green Bay Packers beat the New Orleans Saints. Packers came back and won that game 18-17. Houston Texans beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 37-17. First win of the year for the Texans and DeMarco Ryans. First win of his head coaching career. Broncos barely lost to Miami. I made a video about that now. It was 70-20. Boy. Cleveland Browns 27, Tennessee Titans 3, Buffalo Bills 37, Washington Commanders 3, Indianapolis Colts 22, Baltimore Ravens 19 in overtime, New England Patriots 15, New York Jets 10, Seattle beat Carolina 37-27. Kansas City was all over Chicago Bears. Kansas City Chiefs was all over the Chicago Bears 41-10. Game that was 34-0. It was 38. It was 37-0, and they would have pending the extra point. But there was a penalty, a really bad call, I think, where all of a sudden they call almost looked like point shaving. You know, you think about it, but it wasn't, of course. But I hope not anyway. But it was the Kansas City won 41-10. They destroyed Chicago. Arizona Cardinals beat the Dallas Cowboys 28-16. Again, that's another thing about I was just mentioning. But the NFL, you always have to be prepared. These guys should know better. But again, it's tough. It's hard to beat the worst team can beat the best team any given day, and they can pound them. So it's really hard. You ask, how is that possible? It's just parity, and it's again human nature. When you go 2-0, you're thinking, okay, we're playing Cardinals 0-2, and then all of a sudden, Cardinals win. Steelers beat the Raiders 23-18. Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Las Vegas Raiders 23-18. And even though I'm random, I like to be precise and Mr. Technical, they call me. Well, some people do. Pittsburgh Steelers had a game, obviously. That game, they had an emergency landing in Kansas City. And they had an emergency landing in Kansas City. And they had to wait to board the new plane, which was several hours. And they just got back to Pittsburgh this afternoon. Getting back to the Denver. Denver got destroyed. I mentioned in the other video. But I wanted to talk about who I think the 5 best teams in the NFL, which is professional gridiron football. The 5 best teams are, in my opinion, number 1, San Francisco. Number 2, Philadelphia. Number 3, Buffalo. Number 4, Kansas City. And number 5, Cleveland. Someone would say, why Cleveland? Why Cleveland? They're only 2-1, and we could have easily put Miami Dolphins as a number 5 team. I don't look at the stat. I don't look at them scoring 70 points, Miami, as being good. A lot of people will sit there and say, well, they scored 70 points, so therefore they're just going to destroy everybody else. At least the next game they're going to score 60. The next game they're going to score after that is 50. And no, I don't buy that at all. Sorry. Excuse me. They're just not going to. Could happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. But the NFL, it's a competitive league. And for them, Miami to go to play Buffalo next week, a top 5 team, I think. And that the rankings and all that stuff is just so overrated. It's not even, it doesn't even make sense to sit there and think, well, they're going to go up there and just dominate. They're just going to go up because they scored 70 on Denver, who, I mean, it's really sad. Because, again, I'm a Denver Broncos fan. It's my favorite NFL team. And they were able to just get pummeled. Miami played good. They had a couple breaks where it just seems like Denver was lethargic. And this is what you have to do. You have to stay motivated. And Miami was motivated to play, and Denver wasn't. I'm not trying to take anything away from Miami. It's obvious when you score 70 in a team in the NFL in today's era of parity and good athletes. And it's going to happen eventually where some of these athletes, some of these teams just going to find a way to score a lot of points. You'll see every once in a while, you see a team that scores 50. I think last year the highest scoring game was 58 to 14 or something like that. And I can't remember who it was. That it wasn't a playoff team. And that's just it. A lot of times people think that these athletes are just a lot of people think that these athletes are just going to go in there and smoke the other team. I think Buffalo, speaking of next week, I think Buffalo will be really motivated to play against Miami, and because Miami just got done scoring 70 points. And that's a little while away, even though it's not that while. It's not that long from now. It'll be a good game. But I wanted to also show you Playmaker Pro, even though it's not the best. Speaking of if you know anything about Gridiron Playmaker Pro, it doesn't seem. I'll just do a new one. Well, come on. I haven't played it for a while, so it's one of those things where it's going to take a while to. I'll try it one more time. So you got to go through all these little things. I want to make for example, making the if I want to make the players bigger, I have to go through a format. I mean, that's so So if you don't know a whole lot about football, you can always now here's the quarterback behind the center. These are the two guards. These are the two offensive tackles. These right here are defensive tackles. So those are actually defensive ends. They're down linemen, but oops. Wow, that doesn't make any sense. Oops. What? Jeez. There we go. I got it. Different colors instead of black and white. Yeah. Wow. Jeez. Again, this isn't very user friendly. I got this like I think last summer 22, and if you're interested in getting this, I recommend it. If you're good at, uh, it's really not user friendly. So as you can see, I mean, maybe I'm just not that good. Maybe trying to get this guy right here to fill in a different color because I got this guy as red, the linebacker there. Oh, finally got that. And I would change this guy to nose tackle. NT. See, it's slow because I got this light. As you can see, I got this lit up or highlighted, and then player color. I want to go maroon. Okay, it works there, but I had to do it twice. That'll be Sam back, and this will be the Mike back. Middle backer. So now the Mike back is covered. So see, I wanted to go to Cayenne. See what I mean? It's just, I'll be back, guys. This is absolutely. So as you can see, it's highlighted, and right there, it's you have a Sam backer, which is strong side linebacker. The M is middle linebacker. Obviously, that's not going to be it. Let's try. These things are very frustrating. Fine, though, that kicked in. Yellow. Notice the yellow right there is not even yellow. Ugh. Anyway. Hello. Okay. All right. Yeah, bye. Yeah, bye. But yeah, if you No, if you ever have Playmaker Pro, I wouldn't recommend it because it doesn't, frankly, it's not working. So now that works right there. But then as soon as I go here, format, well, that worked. That's silver. Okay. That's gold. And, right here, these lines. It's certainly not user friendly. This is. Anyway. Oops. But anyway, I just wanted to share my thoughts on the Gridiron Football games this past weekend, and I hope you all have a wonderful night. Hope you found this video interesting. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. I won't ask you to do that because this is a random channel and nobody can handle randomness. And I'm too random for everybody. But, all right. Thanks very much for watching.